How are you? It's Destination Uri, the morning programme. Rowan Hand, your host, through until 10:30 Irish time. That's the way we are, Joanne. Joanne Callan, of course, from Try the Alternative and Destination Wellbeing, your afternoon programme here on Destination Uri. And my programme here. And you're always a great stalwart for the programme. You're with me regularly every week. There's a constancy factor there that I find very attractive and welcoming. And we, of course, weekday mornings, Monday to Friday, 7:30 in the morning, 10:30 Irish time. I think are we still in British? When do we go to GMT? We're still British Standard Time. Is it this weekend? The clocks go somewhere, I don't know.
Oh, the last weekend in October, so I think it's
so we have a wee bit to go yet.
Yeah.
Joanne, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, Rowan.
Good. How is Try the Alternative? I'm fine. How's Try the Alternative?
Good, yes, all's good, yeah.
Okay, you've been doing things this week.
Plenty been happening.
Delving a little bit into spirituality, you whispered to me there.
Well, yes, I was at the St. Gerard's Novena last night.
Now, what is the St. Gerard's Novena?
Well, for me, it's an essential part of October, really.
Really? A bit like the May altar.
I've noticed, and probably even more so. I think I've noticed the four new, Father Michael Cusack mentioned last night.
Michael in Dundalk.
Yes, and Michael mentioned that they have 4 students in the Redemptorists in Dundalk. So they have this year used the benefits of social media to promote the novena.
Yeah.
And
when you say students, that's student priests.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Student priests in the Redemptorists.
My brother Cusack, holy man of the clerical world, you're doing well,
yeah.
I tell you.
Well, they're doing, and I mean, but when you take that 10,000 people a day, roughly give or take, for 9 days will pass through the doors of the Redemptorists in Dundalk, you have to think that somewhere in there you're going to, well, and I'm not saying that they're all from Dundalk, because those novenas with those volumes happen in Belfast, and they happen in Athenry, and they happen in Limerick as well. So
the Dundalk one is hugely famous,
huge, yeah. But as is Clonard, and as is,
of course,
it's that.
Is that a Redemptorist thing, do you think?
I think so. I think people relate very well to the Redemptorists, and they're very down to earth people. I mean,
did Michael do the thing last night when that you were at yesterday?
Michael did the singing. And
that's Michael Cusack.
Father Michael Cusack. Yeah, he's just turned 50 last week.
Happy birthday, dear Michael! Happy birthday to you.
And then we had Father John Hannah was the priest, and Father Aidan, somebody was the preacher. I can't
Whose words did you hear yesterday?
The words of the preacher last night was Father Aidan, and I can't think of his second name.
And what was the core message he was giving you at the
message
retreat?
for the novena, interestingly, with your choice of song just before I come on, was the church on the street. So
gee whiz.
Yeah, so he started his ceremony last night with or his sermon last night with actually a rendition of a song out of My Fair Lady. I'm on your street, and I'm feeling higher on the street, or something, words to that effect. So, and he began just to talk about how really to bring the church into our everyday lives and onto the streets. So
I have to tell you about the streets, and I discovered it last Saturday because the weather had started to go cold. And up with dear brother Kevin in the Capuchin Day Centre for the Homeless in Dublin, a wee man told me he was going, he would be on the streets for the winter. And I said, what are you going to do? And he said, well, what I do is I get the late bus out of Dublin for Belfast, and that gives me almost 4 hours, 3.5 hours. In the bus, I've got warmth, I've got a place to sleep. I reach Belfast and I do a wee walk around the Europa Centre, put in an hour there, and then I get the next bus back, and I'm coming back into Dublin at about 6 o'clock in the morning. That's how he lives. Yes, yeah. And another man said to me, this other man's a big man, Francis, a South African, he dresses and he's got a good cloak on him and a stave, and he said, I couldn't figure out what he was talking about. He said, they're not happy. And I said, well, what do you mean, Francis, they're not happy? The lions. They roar every morning. So I thought he'd lost the plot at this stage, being the judgmental person I am, and I shouldn't be. Stop it. And he said, they're in the cages, the Phoenix Park Zoo. And he sleeps under the hedges in Phoenix Park. Right. So the church on the street, That's what we're talking
it is,
about,
yeah.
I tell you. So all of that's good.
yeah,
Right,
so
away from these spiritual matters and these humanitarian things and Christian things and all the rest of it. What have you got on the programme today?
Today I have Mary McStay, and Mary has been working in the field of personal development for many years, and we're very lucky. She's now based a lot of her workshops at the Hub in Newry,
Oh, good.
which is a fantastic place really to hold workshops because
Yes.
it's so bright and inspiring. And Mary is running her programme, A Right to Be Me, and also the Springboard programme and a confidence building boot camp. So a lot of it is around confidence, self-esteem, and empowering people to and supporting people to really
Have to say, I'm
make the
kind of
best
not.
from where their lives
I'm
are.
not the greatest fan of boot camps because it implies sort of,
Hard work.
and it's not so much the hard work. It's the sudden, and
Yeah.
I would say Steve will be telling me this in a little while, talking about the physicality of our bodies. It's that sort of, not hard work, but it's that sudden change in body musculature, temperature kind of thing, where you're going from nothing to,
Yeah,
far better to
starting.
just develop it and be strong. And that notion of the right to be me is a huge notion.
Yeah.
It takes us a while to get our heads around
Well,
that.
it does, because I suppose we've culturally we have grown up with, we put everyone else first and, and ourselves second, and whilst that works to a degree, but I think one of the that's obviously been something that has been ingrained, and maybe through the church and different things, that we put others first, but actually if we take it back, and I know we say we go away from spiritual things, but if we take it even back to that, one of the commandments is love thy neighbour as thyself.
Yeah,
So it has to begin
with
yourself,
and
allowing yourself to figure out who you are and respecting yourself enough to make.
Part of the problem over the years with churches was that we were inculcated with a philosophy of guilt and not being proud of ourselves. And hold your head down and beat yourself up during Lent, and don't eat meat on a Friday, but eat that pauper's food, salmon. My God, it was all nonsense. And thankfully now Rome is sorting out. The old Pope Francis the Good, he's there in Rome this week, talking a bit of good sense.
Yeah.
But the notion of a few hundred bishops talking about family, parenting, contraception, marriage, what do they know about it? I often wonder.
Yeah. But I think when it comes to confidence and self-esteem, really we have to explore ourselves, know ourselves first, and figure out what's working for us and what we maybe need to. Well, certainly.
How would you do it yourself? Because you walk tall, and you walk strong.
It was. Yeah, I would say I was probably always quite a confident person, and then I spent about 18 months living in hotels and working for a chain of coffee shops, and I think in that time I had the space. I had to get to like myself, because I was the only person that I had with me all the time, so the rest of it came and went, but a lot of the time actually, once I left the shop or wherever I was opening on a particular day, then I was back to the hotel and it was me and the four walls of a hotel.
That's not nice.
And
that's tough.
Well, it's not if you don't like yourself.
Years.
I did it for about 18 months, which is probably a limit, I think. I don't think you could have done it for much longer. But in those 18 months, I took the opportunity to get to know me. And if I hadn't have liked myself, it would have been a very lonely 18 months. But luckily, I had colleagues, and that paints a very grim picture. It was a great time.
No, but I know exactly what you're saying.
But you had that space and that time at probably quite an important time. I was about 25, 26 whenever I did that. So I think that's a good time for getting to know yourself.
Oh, yeah.
It's also a time when a lot of people go into relationships and go into marriage, and I don't always think that they know themselves before they do that. It can be, for me, that was a really good space, and it was a lot of personal development. Some people might call it self-help books, but for me, I would prefer to say it was personal development, because it was getting to know me.
I'm interested in the hotel thing, because I remember, and this struck me so forcefully, I'm in the Waldorf Astoria in Manhattan, and I have the best hotel in the world, perhaps, arguably. I have the best room that you could want in an hotel. I have the greatest possible array of soaps and potions in the bathroom, the most magnificent lighting in the world. And the next morning, I'm kind of stifled by it. And I find that the air conditioning is getting to me. So I got my clothes on at 2 in the morning, put the coat on, out I went. I went for a walk and got a coffee, sat down in the steps beside a coffee caravan and drank the coffee, got into chat with people, blah, 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 blah. By 7:30 in the morning, I'm across at St. Patrick's Cathedral. And there I look, before 7:30, 7:30 the doors opened, but at about 6, I'm looking, and they're still asleep. They're not in the Waldorf Astoria. They're in cardboard boxes on the steps of St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York, and they're sleeping soundly. Do these people know themselves? By gum, they do.
Yeah.
And then suddenly at 7:30, the doors swing open, and all the light and all the heat that's trapped inside St. Patrick's comes pouring out. So no church on the street there.
No.
Locked doors of the church on the street. But the other thing then was, the following morning, I looked out through the window of my hotel, and this woman, she took up her space. And her space was no larger than 2 flagstones, maybe 6 feet long, maybe 4 feet wide. And she settled herself there to beg. And she was a woman of about 40, looked as though she was 80. Holes in her clothing. She was broken. I could see her nails, when I passed by down below, her nails were sort of turning in like claws. And she was such a broken person. And I'm thinking, here am I in this place where I push that button and I get everything I want on the television. I push that button, get all the menus of the world. And it struck me that this woman, sometime in her life, would have been considered beautiful. Maybe someone, a sex object even. But here she was, life had done this to her. Yeah. And it struck me. But anyway, that's all.
And it can happen to any of us.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's the thing that we always have to remember, that it is a case of, you know, we just don't know what makes that person different from someone else, or where does that life path go?
Was it the Samaritans who said that your home ownership is only, your risk of being homeless is only 3 paychecks away? If you miss your... You get the push and you're out.
It is, yeah. And sometimes it's other circumstances as well, isn't it? There's a lot more, I think it's a lot more complex problem than actually having a house or having, there's much deeper issues that run into it. So.
Issues that start, things that one did in the past that one can't change in the present, leave you with a legacy of dreadful, dreadful hurt and dreadful guilt that exists there. So what's Mary's core line, Mary McStay, on your programme today at 3 o'clock?
Yeah, personal development and the right to be me and confidence building. And we've a lot of hints and tips and maybe some questions that might provoke some thoughts in people's heads that can help them to maybe within themselves get to a place that they're happier, they're more content, they're feeling, you know, that they've achieved whatever it is that they've wanted to achieve, and that that it's not lack of confidence that has held them back from achieving whatever it is that they've set out, because it'll be personal to everybody.
Absolutely.
And as Mary said, you know, people would come on her programs for many different reasons. So it might be maybe someone who wants to get themselves to achieve better on a sporting level, on a health level, a career, relationships. So it's a broad spectrum, and it'll be something different for everybody. So we can check out Mary today at 3 p.m.
Absolutely. What was I going to say to you there? But I met a man during the week at 88 years of age, and he's living in sheltered accommodation in Uri. Lovely man. He was one of a top professional in his chosen field, and I knew him 50 years ago in that role. And he has got it sussed so well. He's still fit, he still moves around, and the particular night I had tea with him in the Italian restaurant, the Mall, that was his night for being there. And did he know what he wanted? Big lasagna and a big salad on top of it. And I said, you know, if you eat well and sleep well, nothing goes wrong. Isn't that fantastic?
Eating and sleeping are the 2 most important things.
Absolutely.
Indeed.
And then, on the other hand, another wee man died this week, I heard. And I mentioned it on the programme. I'll not mention names now, but I mentioned it. He was a man who spent all his life as one of McAlpine's Fusiliers in England. He had built England with a pick and a shovel of Ireland.
Yes.
And he came back to Newry. He was from up the road, the Dublin Road. He came back to Newry, and he was living in sheltered accommodation again. And he was quite broken at the end. You could see his skin was translucent, and his bones and his veins through the skin. And I got a phone call, not sure where I was when I got it. I was somewhere significant, but the phone rang, and a lady said, "Rowan, I'm ringing you to tell you that Patrick has died." And she said, "I know that you knew him." And it was a shock. But this old man eventually succumbed.
Yeah.
His time had come, and he had gone. I wish you well.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you for having me on this morning again.
As always,
Yes.
God bless you. Thank you very, very much indeed. You're a good woman. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
Joanne Callan.